Ever get that nagging feeling there's maybe more to you than meets the eye?
Oh, definitely.
Like you're running software with only half the features unlocked. And there's some secret, user manual for life you haven't quite found yet.
Yeah, that sense of hidden potential, it's a really powerful motivator, isn't it?
Yeah.
It pushes us to look beyond just the surface, the day-to-day stuff.
Exactly. And that's precisely what we're digging into today. One of you sent us a truly thought-provoking source.
All right.
A book. It's called Best Seed, translated from Amharic.
Right.
And what struck me immediately is how it uses this incredibly relatable imagery of nature, seeds, planting, growth, to tackle those really big questions about purpose and how we, interact with the world.
Nature just gives us such a rich set of metaphors, doesn't it, for the human experience? It lets us grasp these quite profound truths through simple, observable things.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
So our mission with this deep dive really is to unearth the core wisdom inside Best Seed and pull out those actionable insights that can help you, our listener, tap into your own inherent capabilities and, cultivate a life that feels more meaningful.
We want to do this without getting bogged down in heavy philosophical jargon, right?
Totally. The goal is to make these powerful ideas not just understandable, but really applicable, something that offers a fresh perspective on your own life's journey.
Yeah, offering a practical lens almost.
Right, and it all kind of boils down to this central question, which is directly inspired by the book's core message. Knowing, deep down, that your very nature is to yield abundance, like many times what you invest. What would you consciously choose to nurture, to plant in your life? Okay, let's get into it.
Let's do it.
The book kicks off with a really grounding story about a broken stencil machine at the university. Tell us about that one.
All right. It's fascinating how a seemingly small thing, an everyday incident, can point to something much bigger about ourselves. So the author talks about finding out that this stencil machine, which everyone just used for, basic carbon copies.
Yeah, the old messy ones.
Exactly. Well, it actually had a photocopying function. You could use plain paper. A whole capability just sitting there, unnoticed by most people.
It's almost funny, isn't it? All that potential just wasted. And the author points out there were probably loads of these machines across the university.
Probably.
Breaking down early just because nobody really understood what they could do.
Precisely. And if we tie this back to the main theme, the author asks this really sharp question. If we can so easily misunderstand and underuse a pretty simple machine made by humans,
right,
how much more might we be misunderstanding and underusing our own complex, inherent potential?
Wow. Yeah, that really makes you stop and think. It immediately brings up those foundational questions. Who or what made us? Was there a point to it all? An intention?
Wow.
And if there was, how do we even start to figure that out?
And this hits on a really crucial point about our perspective. The book critiques those purely materialistic views of life. The ones focused only on the physical, birth to death.
Yeah.
That limited view can stop us from even asking these deeper questions about purpose.
And it's so easy to get stuck in that day-to-day grind, isn't it? We often just sort of accept what people around us say about life's purpose, family, culture, whatever, without really examining it ourselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the book also observes that even, say, religious perspectives, which do offer frameworks,
right,
sometimes put such a heavy focus on the afterlife that exploring purpose and meaning now in this life can get a bit overshadowed, maybe unintentionally.
So the book shines a light on these really profound questions we often push aside, like, what unique thing am I here to give? What's my actual origin? Why am I even here? Is there a connection between me and, a creator? What am I really made of beyond just flesh and bone? And how can I even begin to grasp my own potential?
That search for our beginnings, it's just fundamentally human, isn't it?
Yeah.
The book touches on science looking into this, mentioning the theory of evolution. But what's interesting is, while evolution offers one angle, the book notes it doesn't have all the answers sewn up and points out that actually many scientists themselves think about, some kind of single creative power behind everything.
It's that recognition that science, it hasn't tied everything up neatly yet, which leads people to look elsewhere for understanding our place,
Exactly.
And the book then turns to religious texts as a source of, ancient wisdom about human nature.
It does. It highlights that common story in many faiths about Adam and Eve being the first humans.
Okay.
And for this deep dive, it focuses mainly on the Genesis creation story as a key text for exploring these questions about who we are.
Okay, so let's dig into that foundational story. What insights does Genesis offer about, where we come from and what we are?
Well, the narrative describes this process of creation, right?
Yeah.
And it ends with humans being formed from the elements of the earth clay, so basically water and dust.
Right, from the ground up, literally.
Literally. And that we were made in the image and likeness of the Creator. And then, crucially, the Creator breathed the breath of life into us, making us living souls.
So that divine likeness, what does the book suggest that really means?
You could think of it as the spark of our highest potential, that inherent goodness, the capacity for creation within us, mirroring the Creator's attributes.
So the implication is our physical bodies are tied to the earth, but that spark, that breath of life, that's what really defines us and holds our potential.
That's the idea. And if that likeness is in us, then figuring out our purpose gets tied up with understanding the Creator's attributes. The book lists several from the Bible: Alpha and Omega, good, love, life, forgiving, just, the way, eternal light, truth, omnipotent, meaning limitless.
Wow, that's a powerful list. And the book notes that while we have echoes of these, we can love, seek justice, truth.
Yeah, we can.
We can kind of get disconnected from them if we only live through our senses, through our physical identity.
Exactly. Living just through the senses means being driven by, immediate physical needs, external things, and maybe neglecting those inner values, the higher aspirations that divine likeness.
And even our basic survival needs, food, water, air, sun, they also tie us back to our origins, to nature, right?
Absolutely. Reinforcing that idea that we're part of a bigger picture, a created order.
Which leads us naturally into the story of Adam and the forbidden fruit. But the book presents it less as just a story and more as a really powerful metaphor for choice and consequence.
Yeah, what was fascinating is how the book describes Adam's initial situation in Eden. Everything provided effortlessly for eternal happiness. No struggle, no work needed.
Sounds pretty good.
Doesn't it? But there was that one single boundary.
Right.
Don't eat the fruit from the tree in the middle of the garden. And the consequence of disobeying was also made clear.
So perfect ease, but with one very clear rule. And then inevitably comes the temptation, personified as Satan. How's that interaction described?
Well, Satan comes along with these deceptive questions, trying to undermine the Creator's instruction. He asks, did God really say you shouldn't eat from any tree?
Casting doubt.
Exactly. And when they clarify it was just the one tree with the warning of death, Satan just flat out contradicts it. Says they won't die. And actually, God's holding back knowledge that eating the fruit would make them like God.
Ah, the classic temptation. Playing on that desire for more, that feeling of lack. And the book highlights how they, Adam and Eve, responded.
For the first time, they really focused on that forbidden fruit. Saw it as good for food, pleasing to look at. And then they chose to believe Satan's words over the Creator's. And they ate it.
And the key insight there.
Every choice, even one that seems small, has these deep, lasting consequences on our inner world, our outer world, everything.
And the consequences weren't minor, were they? They were immediate and pretty significant.
The book explains, as soon as they ate it, their eyes were opened to evil. They suddenly felt shame about being naked. But more profoundly, they willingly brought death mortality onto themselves, something unknown before.
Wow.
And anxiety and fear popped up for the first time. You see it when Adam hides from the Creator's voice.
Yeah.
Their whole way of thinking, their senses, became tuned into negative things.
It was like a switch flipped, and they saw a whole new, darker side of reality they hadn't known. And the book stresses a really critical part of that decision.
Yeah, by choosing to trust Satan's advice, Adam essentially cut that direct line to the Creator. Believing one meant rejecting the other. It created a separation.
And according to the book, it wasn't just Adam who felt the effects. The earth itself changed.
Exactly. Just as Adam gave in to the evil fruit, the earth reflected that choice. It started growing thorns and weeds. Before that, apparently, it only produced good, beneficial plants. The book really emphasizes this deep connection, this mirroring between humanity and the earth right from the start.
That's a powerful image, the land reflecting our inner state. And the book draws a really interesting parallel between, neglected land growing weeds and our negative states of mind.
Right. Doubt, worry, anxiety, fear, depression. The book frames these as the weeds that pop up when we live without a clear purpose, without making an effort. It's like letting a field go wild. Before all this, Adam's job regarding the fruit was just observe it, don't internalize it. As long as he didn't dwell on it mentally and act on it, its negative power couldn't grow.
But he did dwell on it.
He did. His mental focus shifted, fueled by that desire for power, how good it looked, and that led to the action, to eating it.
So it starts with a thought, an internal shift, that then becomes an external act with huge consequences. And with that separation from the creator, the free ride was over, right?
Yeah.
Labor became necessary.
Exactly. Adam was told, by the sweat of your brow you will eat. He basically becomes a farmer. He has to actively work the land to survive, to try and get back what was lost.
And the connection to our lives.
The book draws it directly. We also have to actively work. We need to clear out negative thoughts, cultivate a living purpose, something that produces good results and benefits others.
And this brings us right to that core idea of the best seed. What's the message there?
Well, the idea is, just like a farmer carefully picks the best seed for their field, we need to be intentional about what we plant in our own lives.
Yeah.
Our thoughts, our actions, our intentions.
Okay.
And this is where that natural law kicks in, sowing and reaping, cause and effect. The book really hammers this home. Everyone harvests what they sow, whether it's wheat or weeds, whether you meant to or not.
So negativity, reap negativity, so positivity.
Reap positivity. Simple as that, but profound. So the responsibility is on us to be mindful of what we're putting out there, what we're actively growing inside ourselves, and how we treat others.
And the book breaks down this law of sowing and reaping into some core principles.
Yeah, there are a few key ones. First, the necessity of sowing first. You got to give or invest something to get something valuable back. Action first.
Okay, makes sense.
Second, the harvest is always the same kind. What you plant is what you get. Wheat gives wheat. Weeds give weeds. Third, the principle of time. Everything has its season, right? Seeds need time to grow. Not everything happens instantly.
Patience is key.
Definitely. And finally, there's the principle of abundance or encouragement. Nature rewards the effort of sowing with a much bigger harvest than the seed you started with. It encourages persistence, having faith in what you can't see yet.
These principles seem obvious when you think about actual farming, but how do they apply to, say, our thoughts or goals?
Well, the book uses that farmer analogy again.
Right.
A farmer could just eat or sell the seed they have right now, get that instant gratification.
Sure.
But they choose to sow it, wait, nurture it, knowing that investment will lead to way more down the line, keep the cycle going. Choosing the quick gain breaks that cycle of life, of future abundance.
Right. It's that delayed gratification idea, investing for the long haul instead of just grabbing the quick win. And the book talks about nature being generous in this.
Very generous. It says nature rewards each seed sown with like 30, 60, even 100 times more if you choose the right path. Cooperate with the laws, with the Creator. It encourages us to go for meaningful things, not shortcuts. The way to get a lot, the book suggests, is actually to give a lot.
That feels really counterintuitive sometimes, doesn't it? Especially today. And the book also says this law works even if you're not trying to sow something bad.
That's right. It works even if you accidentally sow weeds, or if you just neglect to sow the good stuff you want. If you don't actively cultivate what you desire in life, it's like giving permission for the unwanted stuff to grow instead.
So inaction is a form of action, in a way.
Kind of. Our lives, like land, will always produce something. If we don't consciously plant good seeds, negative patterns, weeds, might just take over.
Okay. And for that best seed to really take root and grow, the book lists some essential things that need to work together.
Yeah, it's a whole system. You need the seed itself, obviously. The farmer, that's our conscious effort. The farmland or inner state, our circumstances, the tools, skills, resources, water nurturing influences, air freedom, opportunity, sunlight inspiration, guidance, they all have a role.
And the act of plowing, preparing the soil, that seems really important too.
Oh, definitely. Plowing, the book explains, is about getting our inner and outer landscape ready to receive the seed. It lets the good stuff like water and sun get in, and importantly, it clears out the existing weeds, those negative thoughts, limiting beliefs that would choke the new growth.
So it's about creating the best possible conditions.
Exactly. And the book suggests it's only when we adopt this farmer mindset that we really start thinking about our land's potential for bearing fruit. We become proactive about preparing and cultivating.
Before that, we might just take things like sunshine or opportunities for granted.
Yeah, maybe. It's the conscious choice to plant the best seed that makes us notice these vital forces and think about how to use them. And even if we neglect our land, it'll still grow something weeds, right? That's on us, our inaction, not the land's fault. We still get basic things, like oxygen, even from the weeds.
The book also mentions that how deep you plow depends on what you want to grow.
Right. Deeper plowing for bigger, longer-term plants. So deeper inner work in preparation for more significant goals or changes in our lives.
But the core message seems to be that our potential is always way bigger than what we're currently using.
Always. The book really emphasizes that we only start to glimpse this boundless potential when we look at our lives like a farmer looks at their field. There's no truly unproductive land, just land we haven't worked to its full potential yet.
And understanding this land is critical because, as the book says, we are connected to it, made from it.
Yeah, we share the same basic elements, rely on it, return to it. We don't own it, we're just tending it, cultivating its potential while we're here.
And the book uses an analogy here. The surface land is like the mind, and the deeper part
is like the heart. Where the roots grow, the boundless part. And for our best seed, our purpose, to really grow solely, there needs to be harmony between the surface mind and the deeper heart.
The inner growth has to support the outer result.
Absolutely. The farmer gets this balance, the need for patience, watching the unseen growth happen. It's the same for us. An idea in the mind only becomes real when the heart truly gets behind it. Mind and heart have to align.
So a purpose needs to really capture our heart or come from our heart to be truly fruitful.
Yes. And a purpose that captures the heart, the book suggests, connects to our nature as beings tied to the earth and each other. It should be linked to something that brings real joy in giving or serving. Choosing a purpose that resonates deeply is like finding the perfect climate for that seed.
And it's never too late for this.
Never. The book stresses how important purpose is at any age. Just aligning mind and heart unlocks potential, lets us work with more ease, more flow. It helps define our direction.
And the reward isn't just achieving the goal itself.
No, the real benefit, the book says, is the release of inner energy. That potential unlocked then fuels us towards even bigger things.
Yeah.
Because our inner capacity, like the Earth's depths, is vast.
But there's a warning, too.
Right. A purpose that's purely self-serving, just about personal gain or being better than others, that can't be truly living or deeply fulfilling in the long run.
This leads us into the second chapter and a different kind of story of Ali Hafed and the diamonds. That's a really memorable one.
It really is. Ali Hafed, this prosperous Iranian farmer, happy life, family, everything seems good. Then a visiting scholar tells him about science, how diamonds form deep in the earth from heat, and how incredibly valuable they are.
And just hearing about this possibility, it completely changes Hafed.
Totally. This new knowledge makes him feel poor all of a sudden. His contentment vanishes. He gets consumed by this desire to find diamonds, disrupting his whole peace.
He becomes obsessed, can't sleep, seeks out the scholar.
Yeah, wakes the poor guy up, desperate. Where can I find diamonds? And the scholar, probably annoyed, gives this really vague answer. Look for a river flowing over white sand.
Not exactly a detailed map.
Not at all. But Hafed grabs onto it. His joy in his farm disappears. The work feels meaningless. He stops being productive. And then he makes this huge decision.
He sells the farm.
Sells his farm, leaves his family, and goes off searching the world for diamonds. Iran, Africa, Europe. Just searching.
Wow. It's such a stark example of how chasing an external desire can completely derail a good life.
And the search ends tragically. He finds nothing, ends up broke, exhausted, and in despair takes his own life in a river in Spain.
But the story doesn't end there, does it? There's that massive ironic twist.
Exactly. Back at Hafed's old farm, the new owner is watering his camels in the stream that runs through the property, and he notices these sparkly stones in the water reflecting rainbows in the sun.
Just pretty rocks, he thinks.
Yeah, thinks they'd look nice in his house, so he collects some. And then who happens to visit?
The same scholar.
The very same scholar who told Hafed about diamonds in the first place. He sees these stones in the new owner's house and is just stunned, recognizes them immediately. Diamonds.
And the new owner is just like, oh, these, yeah, I just picked them up down by the stream.
Pretty much. Shows the scholar a whole pile of them. Turns out the entire farm, the land Hafed sold to chase diamonds across the world, was literally full of them.
Oh, man. The irony is just crushing. So what's the main lesson the book draws from this? Beyond just Hafed was unlucky.
Well, the book stresses that it's not about luck. It's that our own land, our inner selves, our immediate surroundings, our current lives, often holds way more value and potential than we realize.
Hafed was so focused on this external idea of wealth that he was completely blind to the riches right under his own feet.
Exactly. He was a farmer, but his farm's potential was way more than just crops. And the question for us is, if that's true of land, how can we know our own potential if we don't look closely at what we already have, right here, right now?
And just like weeds can choke a field, our own lives can get cluttered with things that hide that value.
Those weeds and thorns. Again, limiting beliefs, fears, negative self-talk. They stop us from planting what we really want and from seeing the good stuff that's already there. We need to clear that inner landscape. just like a farmer clears the surface.
And this story also reinforces that idea of patience, respecting natural timing like we talked about with farming.
Yeah, nature has its rhythms. The farmer knows this. You prepare, you sow, you water, you weed, you wait patiently. Our goals, our dreams, they need time too. We have to do the work and be patient.
And the book keeps coming back to this idea of cooperation with nature, with each other.
Nature invites us to cooperate, right? Understand our land, choose our seed, cultivate it, let nature do its thing. That brings abundance. And life itself thrives on connection, like plants and humans exchanging gases. Mutual support helps everyone flourish.
So the big question this chapter leaves us with is really personal.
Where are you looking for your fulfillment, your diamonds? Could they be much closer than you think, inside you, in your current life? Are you maybe overlooking the potential in your own backyard, so to speak?
Which leads us neatly into the third chapter, re-engineering the mind's work process. This one doesn't seem to have a single story, but it builds directly on these ideas.
Right. This section really focuses on the idea that our minds, like that cultivable land, aren't passive. They need active work, active direction from us. We have to shape our inner landscape.
And a big part of that shaping is dealing with those inner weeds.
Exactly. The chapter stresses how important it is to recognize and pull out those weeds, the negative thought patterns, the limiting beliefs, the self-doubt that can really stifle the growth of our best seed, our purpose.
Because if you neglect a field, weeds take over. If you neglect your mind,
negativity takes root. Simple as that.
And the book brings back that idea of perspective, how we choose to see things.
Yeah, it encourages us to think about changing your glasses, intentionally shifting how we look at things, to see the potential in ourselves and our situation that we might have missed before. Just like Hafed missed the diamonds right under his nose.
So it's about taking a fresh look at our own farm, our life, skills, relationships, and asking, okay, what best seeds could I start planting if I just looked at this differently?
Which flows right into chapter 4, living purpose. This digs deeper into actually cultivating that best seed.
And it reaffirms that key point. It needs to be a living purpose, something that connects with the heart, not just an idea in your head.
Right, back to that analogy. Choosing the right climate for the seed. Our purpose should align with what brings genuine joy, what allows us to give or serve in a way that feels right to us.
And when that alignment happens, the book says something powerful occurs.
Yeah, having that purpose harmonizes the mind and heart. It unlocks potential, lets us work with that sense of flow, of ease. It's when inner intention matches outer action that we feel truly empowered.
And the reward isn't just ticking a box, achieving the goal.
No, the real payoff, the book suggests, is that release of inner energy. That renewed vitality propels us towards even bigger things, tapping into those deep inner resources.
But we have to remember that caution.
Always. A purpose purely about self-interest, personal gain, being top dog. It won't ultimately satisfy. It's not truly living.
Okay, so the next few chapters seem to explore the qualities needed by that farmer to actually do this work. Chapter 5 highlights patience, perseverance, determination.
Absolutely essential qualities. The book links them directly to the farmer's journey, sowing, then waiting for the harvest. A farmer knows results aren't instant. Our goals need time, steady patience, and just sticking with it. It reminds us of that principle of time. Again, everything unfolds in its own time.
So embrace the waiting, stay hopeful, keep doing the work.
Exactly. Then chapter 6 talks about traveling the extra distance. How does that fit in?
This connects back to that principle of abundance or encouragement. It's about the farmer's consistent effort, the plowing, sowing, watering, weeding, day after day, done with the faith that it will lead to a much bigger reward later.
And nature rewards that sustained effort with abundance. So the encouragement for us is, go beyond just the minimum. Put in the real dedication towards your purpose, knowing the rewards will likely match that commitment.
And then chapter 7 adds another layer, forgiveness, having a forgiving nature. How is that part of cultivating the inner farm?
Well, holding on to resentment, anger, bitterness.
Yeah.
The book says that's like letting nasty weeds grow and choke out the good seeds in your inner garden.
Oh.
Forgiveness of ourselves, of others, is presented as essential for inner peace. It clears the ground, allows our potential to grow without being choked by negativity.
So clearing out the emotional weeds, too. And then the book shifts slightly with a section called When We Collaborate. This seems to widen the lens from just our farm.
It does. It tells a story about an Ethiopian investor who won an international award for amazing agricultural productivity. And apparently, his motivation wasn't just profit, it was passion, family tradition. But initially, he just focused on his own superior seeds. He kind of ignored the less productive farmers nearby, figuring, separate fields, their problems aren't mine.
But nature doesn't always respect property lines, does it?
Exactly. Heavy rains came, washed his great seeds over into the neighbors' fields where they mixed with the inferior ones, and it ruined his whole crop.
Oh, wow. So his isolation backfired.
Big time. It forced him to realize how interconnected he was with the community. His selfishness actually hurt him.
So what did he do?
He changed tack completely. Decided to share his knowledge, his resources with the other farmers, helped everyone start planting the best seed.
And the result?
Well, now, even if the seeds mixed because of rain or wind, the harvest was still high quality for everybody.
A rising tide lifts all boats kind of thing.
Exactly. And this collaboration didn't just bring a great harvest for all. It earned him the community's respect, their affection, and ultimately contributed to that international award. It's a fantastic illustration that collaboration isn't just nice, it's often crucial for everyone's success and well-being.
So the book is saying someone cultivating their best seed can't really be indifferent to what's happening around them.
Right. Our success is linked. Just like weeds from a neighbor's field can blow over and affect your crop, negativity or lack of growth in our community can hold us back too. So there's a need to support each other, share what we know, create an environment where everyone is trying to cultivate their best seed, and maybe help each other pull the collective weeds.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, it really all comes back to that initial metaphor, doesn't it? The field.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Our lives are like that field, and we have the power and maybe the responsibility to consciously choose the best seeds, to plant our thoughts, actions, intentions for ourselves and others.
And understanding our own potential, that spark within, plus those natural laws of growth and consequence that seems fundamental to actually cultivating a fulfilling life.
Yeah, and the book keeps reminding us, your diamonds, your greatest potential, might be closer than you think. Right here, within you, or discoverable just by looking at your life with fresh eyes, like the guy who bought Hafed's farm and saw the value that was there all along.
So here's that final thought for you, the listener, to take away. What best seed will you commit to planting in your field today? Especially now, having thought about the power of your own potential and how interconnected all our growth really is.
Yeah, really reflect on these ideas from best seed. How do they resonate with your own life? Maybe with the sources that got you thinking in the first place.
This deep dive, it's really just a starting point, isn't it?
Absolutely. Thinking more about these concepts, exploring your own experiences through this lens, that can definitely lead to even more of those aha moments as you keep cultivating your own amazing potential.